if somebody is identified as being a American hater, or somebody who despises America, or even somebody who does things pathologically in our government to sabotage our country, should they be put to death? You got to remember something very bold that was spoken by a true leader, by our last true leader that we had here, which I don't know if you liked him or not, or want to disagree with me or agree with me, but it was George Bush. And what did he say? He said, "You're either with us or you're against us. So, are you against us?" Now, I remember I said that was the last true leader, so obviously the guy who's in there now is a Taliban raghead. He hates America. It's not just that he's any raghead. I'd leave him alone if he was just any old raghead who actually loved America, who wanted to help our business, who wanted to actually help the disabled, who actually wanted to not rip off the senior citizens and other people who are working right now who do not understand the consequences of their actions for voting for him and other people before them voting for people like Bill Clinton, who stole their IR1 401ks and their IRAs, and now this guy dipshit that's in there now, he's got to find a way to, tax you through your bank account because it's a Democrat way. So we'll get back to that. Should we kill people who are um, America and can haters? That means if you think we can, but like realistically, like all of us, not this dysfunctional little family that we have here in America today, but actually people who can do things. So you would say something, send somebody like Obama to provoke us and say, yes, we can, and use some propaganda, smear, political stuff like that. But who I'm talking about necessarily would not possibly, in my opinion, I don't think would necessarily have to brag about anything or would have to say, yes, we can. They're just a doer, and actions speak louder than words. So here we are. Here's a tidbit on the Civil War. So you got to wonder why they want to bankrupt America, and they're gonna, and these globalists, they're going to, they're going to bankrupt your country so that they can make a one world global economy. They hope because the same dysfunctional people who are living lavishly for everybody else, what do you think they're going to end up doing if they make a world economy and we all suffer the consequences under that? They're going to live lavishly somewhere in the world and you'll never know where they are at. And they'll have complete dominance and control over everybody, and you won't even be able to say a word. So keep in mind that in a communist society, they killed not just people like myself who spoke out against them, but they killed the people who were wise, who spoke up for them as well, so that they wouldn't have anybody to contend with. And their leaders, like look at Stalin in World War II. They're vindictive. They're sorry asses as a leader. Um, would kill like their generals and different people in charge of different things just to get them out politically out of the way because the people from those countries and our any country or whatever cannot see these people who truly are a hero or somebody who stood up for Russia or stood up for wherever their country, that's what they did, and they suffered the consequence of fatally being killed over it. So that's what their track mind was on, was doing what was right for their country, and they were sabotaged and killed by a sociopath. So, anyways, a tidbit on the Civil War. Now, let me put this into perspective for people. I'm from Oregon, so I have a little bit of of North and South heritage in the bloodline. Like everybody up to this point probably has so many different, you know, uh, your genealogy probably goes all over the place, like anybody else's today. So, kind of racially is kind of hogwash, really, up to this point. Even though there is lighter skinned people and darker skinned people, I think it's a bunch of hogwash if you're making anything other than like a racist joke. If you're being serious and you want to put somebody down for being black or being white, it's very petty. It's below making uh, a sick joke about one or the other's race, in my opinion. So, anyways, a tidbit on the Civil War. Now, how would you feel if you were a farmer? No, I feel it because I'm a farmer. Actually, that's what I do. I'm a farmer. So I farm and I do different things. I study like botany and in agriculture. I've been doing it for probably about 20 years. Believe it or not, I've been working with plants. So I can sympathize and empathize with the southern farmer and sometimes even anybody in particular that would had worked a ranch or a farm. It's just who you are, you know. It's not how life ends up. It's how who you are. You know what I mean? It's like you follow certain dreams or whatever. You're not gonna go do somebody else's dream, are you? Are you gonna pursue somebody else's career, something that you don't want to do? Um, so, anyways, the tidbit on the Civil War is that if you're productive, you're producing a lot of crops. So whatever, for whatever reason, the northern people made up in their mind, they was gonna tax the southerners who had all these slaves too, right? Everybody had slaves. People up north had slaves. People in the south had slaves. So let's get over that part for a second. It's a bump in the road. It's just a little bump in the road. The slavery here in America was. So, anyways, um, so the Northerners made up in their mind that they were going to tax these people for their crops in the South, like cotton in particular. So I can understand why there would be so many different. Speaking of jokes, there would be you cotton pickers and different mouthy words like that they call people who work hard. I would consider that a profession because I'm in agriculture. I already said I was a farmer. I was, and I am a farmer. So I believe that that is a career. If you go into picking fruit, you got a picking fruit career. I don't know why it's still dumbed down. These people who are doing jobs that nobody else wants to do, and you haven't caught on to catching to saying that that's a career yet. But anyway, so the Northerners they figured they were going to find a way to convince themselves that it was okay to go after the people in the South and almost try to make what you're going to make the people in the South sell enough cotton to somebody else so that you could charge the South for their own cotton. You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying here? They want to sit there and say the Southerner had a bunch of slaves and was a racist bigot and all this other stuff. There are real racist groups out here that people need to not take their focus off of, white and black. We'll focus on those in particular. But did you hear what I said? You're going to, it's like if I had, um, let's say I worked and I grew this crop and it was this super crop, right? It was all organic. Um, I treated it for bugs with my different things that I know. I've been in agriculture for 20 years, so I come up with different ways that I keep my plants protected and I take care of them, and I'm out there daily and I'm working so much you could feel it like your back. You feel it in your back and stuff. Which I mean, that's okay. I mean, I'm just saying that's it's part of your life. It's not. It's not. That's how life is. That's your life, buddy. It's how life really is. So it's not anything to cry about. It's something to be proud of and to be happy about. So in particular, I would say my career is growing crops, growing food. I'm narrowing in on that. But let's say I took care of that for a whole year. So I had a season full of stuff. So somewhere throughout the year, they come when I was just about to take my food, which cannot be taxed, right? Because it's food, and other things. So I take it out to the farmer's market or wherever I take it to these different places, and I'm doing business. But before I could, all of a sudden here comes the IRS. I don't know how the IRS thinks that they have the right to come and screw with the farmer, but they're going to threaten me in my farm. So I have to hand everything over to them and then not make any money off of my crops. So then I'm stuck even just even more destitute than I thought before, because now how am I going to make a living and how am I going to pay a mortgage? And they want to give you a property tax that you have to pay too. So no means of being able to pay for those and stuff like that. So I'm just telling you what they did to the South, what they did to the Southerners, and what caused the Civil War was not a bunch of black folks and slaves and this and that. That is hogwash. The South freed their slaves before that. And I'm not really trying to defend the Democrats at all and the Southern Democrats and what they did. Okay, or not what they did back then. I'm defending what back then them, and I'm just trying to give people an example of what the North Republicans under President Lincoln was doing down here. Well, things had kind of changed. Um, I would say President Lincoln got voted in um, during that time, so um, all I can say is I don't consider him necessarily the most evil person, but he still um, stayed right on course with the war instead of getting rich people and people who had factories and stuff like that up north off of the Southerners' back to try to force the South to like produce like a bunch of cotton for them for free or something like that. So they just wanted us or the people in the South, the farmers, to produce that and probably food and everything else, all just so that they can um, take the cotton and make clothes with it because they wanted to make more money. They wanted to get richer. So instead of the the southerner or the farmer being able to um, make any money or get ahead in life, they were resorting to having to have slaves, which they took care of. If you go back and look, they considered them it was like they were considered like equipment. They were considered equipment, much like today they're considered equipment, like on a football team or you know a basketball team or well, hockey players are mostly white and they're used the same way. So, are you gonna make it a racist thing out of it, or are you gonna look at it for what it is? So, the people in the South, and other people all over this place had um, different things going on. Okay, and the slaves were only really owned by people who basically were wealthy enough to have them or had enough productivity to have kept them and took care of them, like I said. In some cases, like say in my background, they would not want to go and investigate. They wouldn't even, they would go and they would be like, yeah, yeah, like a Democrat or somebody who would want to use like they're being slaves in my family history can go back and look at my family from Arkansas who had slaves and they lived in a better house. I mean, of course, they're owned and they were a slave, but they were taken care of better. They lived in a better bed than the farm owners than my family did, and that's why they won't ever talk about it. About people like likewise in my history, my family history, who owned slaves before, because they'll find a dead end in the road and they'll finally figure out maybe at the end, close to the end of their investigation, when all they find that they realize that they can't talk about it because the people were well taken care of. And also, not only that, but when they were freed, the South freed the slaves first before the Emancipation Proclamation in the North, and a lot stayed behind. And they were not forced to stay behind. They didn't have nobody threatening them or anything like that. You know, it's not true. They had the right to bounce and flee and do whatever they want. But I think the significant thing about America is that we want everybody to be free, especially if you're a Christian type of minded person. You want people to have more. You don't want them to have less. You don't want to really own somebody. That's just vile and creepy. It just gives me the creeps whenever I think of owning another human being. So um, we would want to at the most use indentured slave laborers like that, and then have people that are like internal affairs are with the police, be like these internal affair people with people's civil rights to make sure that maybe even that they do their jobs right for the people while they're an indentured servant, and that the people who are their servant, their server, people who they're serving or whatever, um, lets them go. It doesn't um, try to abuse the situation either way. But that's the truth. The Civil War happened because the South was oppressed, and I seen this video earlier. It said something to the effect of what would have happened if the South would have won, and I really cannot see how it would be possible that the South would have won the war because they actually it was a war um, over winning the states is what it evidently. Yeah, I never really kind of thought of it that way because not theoretically but truly in a true sense of um, the real circumstances of the Civil War is that they did not have to have a civil war. They could have had a just a immediate secession from itself from the states and didn't have to put up with any of that stuff from the north, and then could have charged whatever they wanted to those people up north. And if the market didn't balance out, then the South would have had to probably come up with their own manufacturing companies and stuff. And I don't know who they're going to sell to. All America is selling to who you selling to for everybody to make money. Um, it's just it's just a really awkward thing um, what the North was trying to do to the South back then. And I see right now today, the it looks like the Southern Democrats are coming in with the globalists, and maybe that's why they're doing it, saying it like that, because the fundamental change and transformation means that everybody is going to in this country is going to have to go through a complete hardship all at once. I don't know rich people's money like Bill Gates or anybody else like that, how their money transforms from the US dollar into a world dollar, a world note. So um, the globalists, I just is going to be probably the simplest thing I'm going to say here is because um, the globalist, I wanted to explain to you guys what the Democrat Party is a globalist party. They're not an American party. They're not for America. They're for either a globalist idea. Some might think that's what they're doing, and others might understand that they're truly getting even with America over the Civil War, maybe. That's why they're um, lying to you and saying all these different things cold and callous to you, about America, basically spitting in America's face. Do you like do you like it when people talk shit about your country? Talk shit about America? Do you like America? Is America your home? Or what is America to you? If America's not your home, what are you doing here then? If you don't absolutely truly love America, I'm saying this to Obama, then what are you doing? If Obama truly loved America and he forgave America for all of the nothing stuff that he made up and other people made up that America did that they didn't really do, he would probably bounce out of the White House. Probably ask George Bush if he could come in there and man the, but that's too late. It's already too late. The damage is done. 7 to 8 years of this globalist nonsense. How much more can we stand? So when you're at the bar or you're anywhere and you're talking to these liberals or these Democrats or whatever, be Joe Smooth about it. Just be like, that's not American agenda that the Democrats are trying to push. It's a globalist one, and we're not globalist people. So tell me, how is that going to work when all our money gets transferred into a world dollar, into a world economy with everybody else's? It's going to change it. How? Ask them that, and then ask them why they're so anti-American. All right, so if they're not with us, they're against us. So should should the haters of America be killed? See, now that's not necessarily a globalist or somebody who would prefer the globalist thing over the American thing. Us being Americans, we're gonna be globalists now or whatever. But their strategy goes right in with somebody who I would think, a pretty smart guy. I would think that you hate America if you're trying to fundamentally transform my country into something very awkward for how much ever time you have to awkwardly do this to America in order to get to your globalist agenda. So why why so much hate and tension about America? Why don't we go through all of the entire world's nations, countries, right? We'll do a list and we'll write them all down, and we'll see who's the guiltiest. So I don't buy the sentiment that America's guilty of anything. I think since World War II, we've had a strict demand for democracy, um, and it tethers back and forth now, more so. Back maybe when John F. Kennedy was running, and you had Nixon and Kennedy running, maybe that's the difference between back then and today is you had all candidates that were all in for America and Americans. So um, their number one priority was, something happens that's a it's a kind of a back backlash, or it's a not a backlash, it's a back step sort of. You're stepping back a little bit when you have a problem. Whenever you're working so hard to have everybody function well and be able to go to different destinations, do their job, come home, have a place to live, car, house, family. So all of those are, let's see, put in risk and jeopardy when you have these American haters here. America can't get back to the way that it was right after World War II. America had a really good time, but see, the they was trying to say like that was the last Great War or something like that, and I think that all they did was they basically may propel basically what we have today, and that is all of these escalated wars and conflicts and everything else, and um, uh, people, let's say, drag gunmen into this. That's part of our war. So your Democrats don't want to acknowledge that we're at a war with Islam. So it is just another public shooting. When one of these terrorists come and shoot people, it's a public shooting, not a terrorist attack. So, what I can say is that when we have America get back to its values, the picket fence and whatever else. I understand it's a new day, it's a different concept, but it doesn't have to be so anti-family and anti-American, America, and so anti towards people who can do more. Um, so what should we do with those people? There's really no way to just go out and ethnically just cleanse America. If we could get a stamp or get them on a tape or on TV or you know um, saying something like this YouTube video right here, you know what I'm saying, you know where I'm coming from. So all these other people in the world, in our country in particular, but also in the world too, we're looking at them. Our eyes are on all of them, but here in particular, we're going to know who all of those nasty and disgusting, vile people are. So it doesn't really matter what they are, what what's going on. We'll protect all people's citizens' rights, just not nasty people who hate our country, because that amounts up to terrorism and at the least domestic terrorism. And I'd rather have them dead over myself. And other than that, I don't know any other way than martial law isn't going to get it, uh, but another civil war will be able to get to it because you're going to be on one side or the other. And if you don't, if you're hostile towards America, the country that you're fighting a civil war in or whatever, I think you're gonna wind up being more killed than the people fighting, trying to protect democracy and freedom. So when they say, "Oh well," it's their opinion or whatever when we're talking about these Democrats, well, no, it is not. It's gone way past politics. It's gone way past, um, being able to sit down and talk with people and negotiate anything. It's gone way. far out there to the point where now we're talking about killing somebody, killing people. People either killing me or me killing you, but definitely a civil war, a revolution or something like that. Kill all the haters, like Black Lives Matters, the KKK, the new Black Panthers. I would rather talk to like the old Black Panthers and listen to them a little bit before I just kill them too. Um, and hear how they speak and what they have to say about things. So these new people are so radical and far out there that there's no way to undermine their radicalism and say, in all true spirit, that they're not. You don't think you're my enemy? You are my enemy for sure. So um, I'd like it to get to its boiling point. I'd like to see a Republican in the White House. So when the Republican gets back in there, then it's going to be time to, I think, force a civil war. Did Lincoln have that much to do or not with the Civil War? The Civil War was going to go down one way or another, anyways. So we'll see how the elections go. Um, and truly, there's no way. And somebody says like, if the South could have won, there's the South. They didn't even have shoes on their feet. So if they didn't have shoes and socks, mainly on their feet, um, and it got to that point from the beginning, they all probably did. I mean, I'm sure at the beginning they all had their uniforms all nice and pressed looking, but towards the war's end, they had no shoes and socks on their feet. So, and where's all the cotton? Where'd the cotton go? So you're still gonna make this about race, and about slaves and slavery. So I just want to know, who is the slave? And say that to them Southern Democrats and Northern Republicans from back then, and today's globalists, and also today's haters. I hate you.